Hey guys, welcome back to another weekly developer diary. So for this week, now that Soulbound's development is fully wrapped up, I'm going to be discussing what I'm planning to do in the next couple of months, with now doing my last uni module. So I'll talk through roughly on the assignment and basically just what the game I'm creating is going to be, because I think I've mentioned it in a past dev diary, but it's been quite a while since then. So essentially, if I get the project up, what I'm planning to make is, well, my assignment is create a turn-based strategy game. So what I'm doing with that, I can take that in any way I want, and the turn-based strategy game is, the due date is a little under 2 months from now, and this is a solo project compared to Soulbound, which was a group project. So what I'm doing for it is I'm going to make a turn-based top-down 2D RPG. So as you can see here, I've already got some of the tile set made, which I've shown in a previous dev diary, as well as the overworld player art that's animated. So basically the player will be able to walk around in this overworld, and when the player walks into some grass, then it will have like a 1 in maybe 10 chance to trigger a random encounter where it will transition to a battle which will be turn-based. However, what I'm planning for the combat is, rather than being a stereotypical you do your turn, they do their turn sort of thing, like Pokemon or something along those lines, is the way I want to enhance it a little bit is taking elements from an example such as the Paper Mario or Mario and Luigi RPG series, where I want the combat to have timing based elements or action based elements. So what I mean by that is, for example, when the player character goes to attack with a sword, for example, you might have to press the attack button in time to sort of get the highest damage possible. Or for example, if a enemy is about to hit you, if it hits you, it might do 3 damage, but if you time blocking it when it hits you, there'll be different ranges of it. So you could get a perfect block and only take maybe 1 or 2 damage, a good block where you take 3 damage, and then maybe if you miss the block you take 5 damage, something along those lines. So if you've played any of those games, you might get up for what I'm going for in terms of the combat, where there'll be action based or time based elements to it. So for another example I have for something like a self heal could be, I thought of an animation where the player would pull out a healing potion, have to shake it and then drink it to heal. So then the action element for that might be the player has to mash a key as fast as possible to simulate shaking a health potion, and then depending on how well they mash, they'll get more or less health. So then, in terms for the story of this game, what I'm planning is the story is going to be based around moral dilemmas and grey areas. So I'm not going to go through all the story elements, but essentially the main character here is a apothecary, which is basically a medieval doctor or a potion brewer who just makes medicines essentially. So with that, I felt like I could do a lot of moral grey areas and whatnot in the story. So my original idea was maybe I'll have 2 or 3 very little story chapters, but now I think it's very much better to just have one really polished and fleshed out story chapter, where it probably wouldn't be particularly long. Something in terms of structure, I think that would be good would be something maybe similar to how Octopath Traveler structures its chapters. In the way that does it is, you will go into a town area, and there'll be some sort of cutscenes that'll sort of lay down the problem or dilemma. And then once that happens, you might have to talk to a few NPCs or do some random tasks. And then once you've done that, you'll have to travel through like a small route area, encountering a few random encounters until you reach a dungeon area where there'll be stronger random encounters, and then it will top off with a boss battle, which will then end with cutscenes sort of making it so that boss battle is the resolution of that chapter, and then afterwards that chapter ends. So that's the type of structure I'm going for, although I will tweak it slightly from how like Octopath Traveler does it. For example, one thing I'd want in the dungeon area would be maybe just a few puzzle elements. So nothing particularly crazy. If you just think like maybe maybe something along the lines of like, oh, maybe there's an icy floor in a dungeon, so when you move, you slide all the way, and once you hit an area, you sort of stop. Or there might be puzzles where you have to push certain blocks or stones somewhere in order to access somewhere. So some sort of minor puzzle elements just to make it so you're not just walking straight from point A to point B through a dungeon. But that's essentially the story, and then the story idea that I have as of now is I've not 100%. I've got the main elements of it down of essentially, so because the main character is like a type of doctor, is if there's for example, if there's a injured criminal who's harmed someone, is it right for this apothecary to treat them, even though they might risk harming someone else after they've been treated? So I feel like there's a lot of moral grey areas I could do with that, or I've made a document that has like a lot of different dilemmas that I could sort of take it in. But I definitely think one of the main challenges of making this game is going to be making the narrative cohesive and interesting, just because I don't have any experience in writing narratives, so that's going to be completely new to me, but I'm looking forward to it. It should be quite interesting. And then as for work I've already got done on it, as you can see, I've got this basic player movement and animation that's tile based, and I've got all these this art made. So if I just go through some of the art I've already got made for the game, this is the boss enemy for the game, which is going to be this, I call it a Triceratops. So because for the game I'm going for like a very autumn theme or aesthetic to it, so you'll notice a lot of these enemies, like this Triceratops, it's all wooded with this orange-green leaf highlights, similar to this patchy like tree version that I've created that's very similar aesthetic-wise. So this sort of like, if this showed up in the dungeon as an enemy, for example, it sort of foreshadows this boss enemy. This is going to be the player art for actually in the battle, so I'll need to animate this. So for example, a block animation might just be, they raise their arms up in front of their face. Or there'll be a lot of animations to this, so taking damage animation, a block animation, a couple different attack animations, so either maybe like a sword or axe swing attack, a shaking a potion to heal yourself, or maybe throwing a certain potion, do some sort of debuff or something along those lines. So I'm going to have to animate this character specifically quite a lot. This will probably be the most animated character because it's the player character. And then for another various enemy, I've got this little fox enemy here because it's a woodland creature. And for the dungeon, right now I'm thinking you go through like an autumn forest, and then you either enter like a deep autumn forest or a deep cave within an autumn forest is what I'm thinking for the dungeon for now. So a lot of the enemies are very like woodland creatures or autumn themed. So I've got this orange looking fox enemy, as well as I made a evil looking like feral squirrel looking enemy. As well as I have a few like work in progresses, like I've got this little like acorn spirit enemy that I'm kind of unsure on. As you can see, here's the walking animations for the player, as well as the tile set so far. So I'll constantly be making additions to this tile set to make sure the game is very visually pleasing. But all in all, I've got just under 2 months to work on this game. I also have to write quite a large report on it. But I've got a lot of the art stuff out of the way. I've still got a decent bit of art to do, but I've got a good chunk of the art assets done. So, getting the boss enemy art and a lot of the enemy art and a lot of the tile set have a good start on is nice. So what I'm planning for next week, because I'm going to be working on this as well as my games research assistant work that I've been doing a bit of work on, so made some upgrades to this dragon sprite, as well as making it so the player had like a sword and shield in this, so you can see little walk animations. So I'm definitely keeping busy, but as for the coming week, while doing my games research assistant work, I think the first thing I want to focus on is probably getting a bit of the coding done, because right now all I have is just this basic walking around. So I think what I'll do is I'll fix the collision on this first of all, because the collision on this is, as you can see, kind of wonky. As well as, like, for example, I can't walk on this tile if I'm pressing down it, but I can walk into this tree in the center, but I can't walk above it. So I made this little demo ages ago, so if anything it might just be easy just to remake it, because this is just a simple, the player can walk around. But in terms of the programming, what I'll do is, because something I've already made random encounters before, which is simply make this grass be on a separate layer, and then whenever the player steps on the grass, there's a 1 in 10 chance of a battle occurring. But I think the main programming challenges for this are going to be making the battle system work and feel good, because there's going to be a lot of, because it's not just going to be as simple as you press the attack button, you deal 5 damage. It's going to be you press the attack button, it plays an animation, maybe has a UI bar showing you where to time pressing the button to hit the perfect spot, and then it'll have to be, if you got a good rank on that attack, you do 2 damage. If you've got great rank, you do 3. If you've got perfect, you do 5. And if you miss the timing entirely, you might do 1 damage, or you might miss entirely. So I think that's probably going to be the hardest thing, is just making the battle system really good. But all in all, I think this game is definitely achievable in this time frame. Especially considering I've got so long to do it, because I've got over the Easter holidays to work on this as well. So I've definitely got time for it, and I'm looking forward to cracking on with it. But I think that's enough of me rambling, so thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next week. Alright, peace.